Let me make sure the sound is on. Sound is on. And I was gonna do this outside today, but I live near a hospital, and also everybody has decided to mow their grass apparently today, because it's a beautiful day. So here we are in my sunroom, trying to get some sun. I was outside planting today for these hanging planters I got. I got a haircut today. Thank you, I look so cute. Anyway, here's my 32-week update. This week has been full of like a little bit of anxiety, because when I went to my last appointment, they were measuring my belly with the very scientific tape measure. I think I talked about it in my previous video. I was 31 weeks and the baby was measuring 27 weeks, centimeters, inches, however they like do it with the tape measure. And they were like, well, it could be that he's just like snuggled into your pelvis and he's fine, or it could mean that your amniotic fluid is low, or that there's a restriction in the umbilical cord. And I'm like, seems rather important. Do we need to look into that? She was like, just come back in 2 weeks. We'll do an ultrasound. We'll have our normal appointment and we'll look at it. And I'm like, okay. Didn't help that the people at the front desk who were checking me out that day, making an appointment, like just did not care at all about what was happening. While I'm waiting, I'm like, is everything okay? I'm also getting a lot of like articles right now on my pregnancy app that are like, your baby shouldn't move any less all the way up through birth. And so now that I know that like he's theoretically small, I'm like, is he moving enough? Have I felt him move enough? Is he moving normally? I don't know, I can't tell. He's moving. I'm sure he's probably fine. But of course now my brain is like, something's wrong. If he's not moving every second of every day, something is wrong, which is so crazy. Like, I feel like I can't focus on if he's moving normally or not, because it all seems abnormal to me. So I'm stressing out about his movement is essentially what I'm saying. Until I see an ultrasound and they're like, yeah, no, he's cool. I'm gonna be stressing, which is also not good for the baby. This system makes no freaking sense. Apparently his brain is good to go. His lungs are what are still like developing and like getting ready for air. But in theory, I could have a baby at any given moment. I'm not having any signs of labor, but I've also had Braxton Hicks, and now I feel like I am not having them. So my midwife at my last appointment was like, just start tracking them, like how long they happen, when they happen, how often they happen. And now I'm like stressing out because I don't feel them. I can't remember. I don't know when they're happening. Like my stomach's kind of hard right now, but I don't know if that's because I'm talking. I don't know. As I get close to the end, it should be stuff that I'm really paying attention to, that I really should be focusing on. The stuff that like really matters, and I feel like I'm incapable of doing it because I just don't feel it. And then I'm like, oh man, am I gonna be one of those women who's like in labor for 3 days and like doesn't know it? Wouldn't that be insane? Probably not. I can't imagine. I can't. You know, I get obviously pushed all of these videos on Instagram and YouTube of these women in labor, and some like are very peaceful and they're like just breathing it out. And then there are these other videos of these women like howling like animals. And I know there's like different pain thresholds and like different levels of medication and whatever. And I'm like, where am I gonna fall? I don't know if I have a good pain tolerance or not. We'll find out. I'm 32 weeks. I'm getting very close to being like, I think it's time for him to come out. Mostly because I just like feel huge. I mean, I still feel like I look like just like a basketball is under my shirt, and that's what everybody keeps telling me, which is very nice. You know, I'm not swelling too much, but I feel like my legs are definitely swollen up. But you know, keep doing my yoga. It helps that my job is pretty physical, which I am so close to taking off maternity leave. It's insane. I have like 1 month left. In order to not focus on my anxieties the entire time and making this video not the positive and uplifting documentary that I want it to be, we're gonna talk about a couple other things. I had a comment on one of my last videos, which you may be like, Casey, that's so lame. Everybody gets comments on their videos. And I'm like, well, I don't. But Amy Briggs says, congrats on 30 weeks. Getting closer and you look great. Thank you so much, Amy. Could you answer a question in your next video? This was on my 30-week video. I'd already filmed the 31, so here we are on the 32nd week. Have you had any embarrassing or TMI symptoms, like lots of gas or farting during your pregnancy? Girl, let's talk about it. From the moment that I got pregnant, specifically because you brought up farts, they're so rank. They are absolutely disgusting. It's a totally different smell. Totally different smell. My diet hasn't really changed very much, except like I'm taking prenatals and trying to be like healthy, but they're gross. But what I will say about this is that like I haven't really talked about it in my pregnancy videos because I'm listening to this great podcast. Let me look up so I don't get this wrong. It's called Is It Normal? The Pregnancy Podcast with Jessie Ware. And she's like an English person and they all talk about the NHS and stuff. But she does a weekly podcast about, is this normal? Essentially. So she's got midwives, she has other experts, she's got all sorts of crazy people that she has on her podcast that come and basically answer her questions because she's had 3 kids and we're following along on her 3rd pregnancy, and questions from other people about things that they're like either embarrassed about or they're like just not sure about, or doesn't seem like a question they need to ask their doctor, but like questions about just stuff that they feel weird about. So I've been listening to that, and yeah, I have to adjust some of the information because obviously it's for the NHS and I live in the United States. So it's not quite like what it needs to be for me specifically, but it is very helpful to listen to. And when I was in my early pregnancy, I would go on walks and I would listen to it on my walk because it's like half an hour. And it just kind of makes me feel a little less crazy. This week's 32 weeks was all about like the different types of delivery that you can have, which was really insightful. Like we've pretty much already made our plan, but which maybe I'll talk about in my next video. What is my birth plan? Yeah, I really like that podcast. So Amy, I don't know if you're pregnant or not, but like that podcast really helps me feel less embarrassed about what's happening in my body. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot the biggest one. So my stomach has gotten hairy during pregnancy. I'm Italian in heritage, and so like I've always had arm hair, you know, I've always had like thicker leg hair. You know, if you look at me in the sun in the right way, I've got a little bit of fuzzy cheeks. The hair on my stomach before I was pregnant was just like normal, like, you know, wearing bikinis, looking cute. Once I got pregnant, it's all darkened and is thicker and longer, I guess. It's just more noticeable. And I'm really self-conscious about it. And I'm glad that I'm not gonna be like pregnant throughout the whole summer, because otherwise I'd be like, I don't wanna wear a bathing suit. So it's not preventing me from doing anything. Like I don't feel too embarrassed when I like go to the doctor or something like that. But it is something that like when I'm laying around like just in my husband's bathrobe because I don't want to wear real clothes, I'm like, God, look at that stomach, it's so fuzzy. So I think that would be my number one like embarrassing pregnancy symptom, is a hairy belly. Yeah, but overall I found a little podcast that helps me feel really supported and reminds me that this is all temporary, kind of, and that like bodies are freaking weird, man. Also, before I got pregnant, I used to be one of those people that would like get woozy walking into a hospital. Like I'd sight of blood, any sort of physical injury really freaked me out. And then I read this awesome book called The Body by Bill Bryson, and I love his work. I think he's really brilliant at making things that are overcomplicated really simple for people to understand, like me, because I'm stupid. And although his sections on women's health and the reproductive system are spotty at best, generally, it kind of like demystified a lot of the like worry I had and a lot of the like not understanding of my body. Thank you, public school health class, for instilling that in me in the 7th grade. I don't know, I feel like we just don't naturally know how our bodies work anymore. So like that book was really helpful in giving me some history and some context. So like, yes, I'm scared about what's happening and what's going to happen in the coming weeks, but like I generally understand what's happening to my body, and that knowledge helps my anxiety be better. Anyway, Amy, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for asking me a question. It's just little old me in my house making these videos. What else did I want to talk about? I don't remember. Oh, sad. Oh well, so that's 32 weeks. My baby shower is not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. I'm very excited. My house guests start arriving this week from their far-flung corners of the country, and I'm planning on doing a whole video about the baby shower. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for checking in with me. Thank you for listening to my anxieties. I already feel better about it. Yeah, and I'll be back next week. See you then.